Welcome to Moments, the podcast, where we have conversations that matter. Hi, everyone. My name is Vasia Makris, your host and founder of Moments, a creative agency bridging art, culture, and technology. Joined by my amazing co-host, HardArt, each week we host a live X space, deep diving into hot topics that are shaping the Web3 ecosystem. GM, and welcome to Moments, the podcast. I cannot believe we're on episode 7. I already see some new faces in the room, a lot of familiar ones as well. Just want to start off by saying thank you guys for joining. As Milton would put it, I think the first thing I'm going to ask and would really appreciate is if we massage the algo and get this space out and get more people in. I would love it if people could share and comment and throw some emojis up. I already see people throwing emojis up. Thank you guys. I love the enthusiasm. Excited for today's conversation. I think that there's a lot to say and a lot of different perspectives. So we're going to jump right in. I just want to start with some housekeeping just to kick us off. There is a tweet pinned up top for those that are not familiar, that might be new and are joining us today. I just want to clarify what exactly Moments the podcast is. Not your traditional podcast. It's essentially we're doing these live spaces every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern with my amazing co-host, HardArt, aka Milton. And we essentially go through some tweets each week, and we're looking for something that is resonates with us, that we find engaging, but is also getting a lot of engagement from the community. And each week we pick a tweet, we focus on that as our main conversation. We invite a couple of people on stage, but we also open it up to let anyone who wants to participate in discussion join us. We definitely want to create a positive environment where we're fostering this type of community and really advocating for open dialogue. That's definitely the way Milton and I believe our space needs to grow. And, you know, that's how we grow and that's how we get better, by having conversations. So yeah, we've basically been doing this for the last 7 weeks and excited to keep building and growing. That being said, what was important and kind of what makes this a quote unquote podcast is the fact that these spaces are recorded and we upload them to all major streaming platforms. So if you're new, you can definitely go back and catch up. I think a lot of these conversations are kind of timeless. They're topics that are important. And instead of it getting lost in the Twitterverse, we want to keep them and make sure that people can go back for reference. So that's kind of the pitch. Before we start and really get into today's topic of conversation, I just want to say a quick GM to my co-host, HardArt. What's up, Milton? How are you?
GM, excited for this convo today. I think I can chime in a little here as a collector, or at least I was parading around as one through 2021, but I am still collecting selectively, and I think that's going to be interesting to discuss today about the sustainability of collecting. I'm curious to hear from somebody with a traditional take on it, how they go about doing it. And yeah, I think there's this happy medium probably between super selective and supportive that'll be the meat and potatoes of the conversation today. So looking forward to getting kicked off.
Same, and I definitely have a lot of questions. I want to emphasize that, yes, this is a collector-focused kind of conversation, but I definitely want to encourage artists and other people to chime in, to join, collectors of all types of scales, whether you're still collecting or not, Milton. Definitely want to have people's opinions on this topic. So to kick us off, I'm going to pin the tweet that inspired today's conversation up top. It is by our good friend Stefan, who's joining us on stage. I'm going to essentially read out the entire tweet. It is a little lengthy, but I do think it's a good one. And then I'll hand over the mic to Stefan to kind of introduce his thought process behind it. But last week, he got a lot of engagement on this. So he said, "I can't collect things just to support. If I did this, my voice would become saturated. My collection would not represent my beliefs, and I would ultimately just be bullshitting artists to believe that I actually like the work. Maybe this is a flaw in my practice in the world of accessible digital art. My line of thinking is to only collect things that truly resonate with me. By definition, this is 0.001% of artworks. There are many artists that I appreciate and want to work with one day, but the artwork that is released at the moment just doesn't do it for me. I'm sure many artists see this and are like, he doesn't like me or my work, which is 100% not the case. I just need time to sit with something and feel its impact. I don't collect things to then reach out to artists and say, hey, I collected this. Want to collaborate on my platform? This feels like I'm just using my purchasing power, which is small to start with, to force a relationship, and this model seems likely to fail. The best partnerships that I've forged are through genuine curiosity, sharing perspective, and relationship building. Value adding to one another regardless of finances. I want my voice to shine brighter than my wallet. I hope I am perceived this way. So that was a little lengthy, but Stefan, I think you brought up a lot of good points that we're going to dive into. But before we do, I want to hand over the mic, say a quick GM, and I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself to the audience, maybe share a little bit about your background to give some context. And if you want to also share a little bit about what inspired you to even write this tweet.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to dive into it. Yeah, I'm curating for a gallery called Virtue Fine Art, which is, um, traditional, but I do everything in my power to publish and work with artists and bring them to art fairs and get their work seen out in the world. Um, and push them, challenge them to try new things, experiment, encourage them that hey, it is new. It's fresh water out there. There's so much to explore. There's so many paths to be paved. No one really knows anything right now. It's so in the early stages. Um, in my opinion, the best thing to do is just put it out there, push it, keep working, build a practice. So I got into art back in 2016-ish. Um, was doing everything from learning about the markets, operations, just trying to understand how to get involved in this world. As many people know, it's like you go into galleries or auction houses and it feels so highbrow and exclusive. And I was very young at the time, and I quickly realized um, if I reach out to these people through social media, like Instagram at the time, and post the right things and talk the right way, and that I could really get the information I was looking for. So, meeting artists, learning about the techniques like painting and printmaking was what I was genuinely interested in at the time. And then discovering NFTs in 2020 just really blew my mind, and I completely dropped the 4 years prior of just hunting essentially for artists um, emerging or coming out of school, and went all in on everything NFTs, digital, and learned as much as I possibly can. And then eventually started actively curating and working with artists and publishing, and whether that was prints or physicals or digital or NFTs or gamify, like went down so many different rabbit holes. I'm just excited to be present here in this moment now. And yeah, we made it. We made a full cycle. I got bounced out in 2017. I came back in 2020, and I said I'll never leave this space again. So it's exciting that the enthusiasm and the sentiment is really high now. Um, that's a little intro. And I guess, do you want me to just dive into the tweet
I
for a
just
minute?
want to quickly say,
Yeah.
first of all, thanks for sticking around. And actually, you mentioned like writing, and you actually write super eloquently. I watch a lot of the things that you put out, and just want to make that comment. But also, like, you can name drop a little bit with some of the names that you've worked with in this space, just again to give people some context and stuff like that in terms of what you do. And then jump into what inspired you to write this tweet.
Yeah, I've worked with Tyler Hobbs, Harvey Rayner, Rick Oostenbrook, um, Dylan Wade. There's so many. Rob Scalera. Um, there's a few more, but I like to go really deep with people, and it's just I like to get my voice out there. For so many years, like in 2021, I was posting this kind of stuff, and no one cared. I mean, still sometimes nobody cares really, but it's wild for me to see this kind of reaction to something that I'm not looking for anything. It's more like a journal, like a diary for me. Is just to, like, I have these thoughts pretty consistently, and I don't know what it'll ever do for me, but I just feel like people need to understand like where I'm coming from, and hopefully if I can change the mind of one person and how they think and how they collect, and that's for the positive, then I feel like I've done something good for this space. So this tweet was just, I mean, we've seen time and time again for the past few years, like platforms going down, um, or people publishing projects and maybe 10% of it sells out, and then we never talk about those projects again. And I found that to be like not only very hurtful for an artist and all the energy that they put into the work, but just like this exaggeration of like why people are here in the first place. And so I wanted to be very, very clear that I don't collect things just to say that I did. I honestly don't post too much about collecting unless I'm like very, very excited about it, which, for example, I just minted one of Rick's pieces, who's an artist that I've worked with and I really appreciate. And I got the one that I wanted. Like I got one of them that I wanted really bad. I mean, you never know with these blind minting things. And I had to, like, it was just a thing that I like had to do. I was so excited about it. And that's not always the case with generative minting or random minting. So yeah, I just was like, basically support to me is it could be so many different things, and it's not for everyone. Like not everyone has to quote unquote support. You can just collect for yourself, and that's like that's your duty of this world, is that you just want to build a collection. I think supporting can take on so many different avenues, but as an active curator in this space, support to me is a lot down the line of building a genuine relationship. And what that means to me is like getting to know these people down to the pulp, like where they're from, who their families are, what their life is like, what they like, how they interpret the world. And then, 6 months to a year later, can I say I've maybe supported in some which way? So I would never want to support with the idea of getting something back. Like I've always tried to value add way more than extract. So it's very subjective, but that's just my lens into it.
Yeah, that's a great way, honestly, to kick off the conversation. And I definitely agree. Support comes in so many different forms. And honestly, I feel like sometimes support that's not monetary is way more valuable. So I'm with you there. The first thing I wanted to just bring up, and again, want to mention to people that feel free, please, to request to jump on stage and join the conversation, as well as just post your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll be checking those as well. But the first thing I pretty much wanted to start off by discussing is like how you phrased it, supporting artists. Like you make it very clear that you do not collect just to support. And it's super interesting because I feel like we have been told this narrative of like support artists, buy art. It's something we've heard before. And spending money is automatically associated with supporting an artist. So my first kind of question, not just to you, but to anybody who wants to join in, is should we be collecting digital artwork just to support an artist? Is it something that's, Stefan, like more your personal preference and what you do, or do you think everyone should be taking this type of approach?
That's I think everything that I tweet, and especially this, is just giving my perspective. That's like my personal preference. That's with the ideas and the values and the beliefs that I've built up over time for looking at 300 pieces of art for the last 9 years and just developing my thought processes. It's very in depth of how I approach this world and how I approach my practice, which is a curator. I don't think it's for everyone. Has their own ideas and their own perspectives. This was solely just to give mine, just to put mine out in the world, and hopefully, it obviously was well perceived, which is interesting. But yeah, if someone spends $5,000 on your one of one, like I could definitely see how you might view that as supporting, and by definition, it is like it's giving you a little bit of runway to live, buy groceries, or support your children, or whatever it does for you. So yeah.
Okay, very true. I love that. Immediately, we have a bunch of people that requested, and Stefan, there was someone, I believe it was Ella, on your original thread that literally said someone should host a space about this. So I'm glad we're having the conversation. I want to pass the mic around just to get us going. I see Gringo with his hands up. So Gringo, you can start us off. GM, it's nice seeing you up here.
Hey, GM friends. Great conversation so far. I actually read the post. I love it. I can't say I disagree with anything, and there's actually a lot to learn in there, especially for myself. I've thought about these things because I'm fairly new as a collector. I mean, I was early to NFTs somewhat on Wax, and I'm not an official curator by any means. I kind of curate for my own little DAO with my friend. That's more of a hobby at this point, so I respect hearing the professional opinion. And not to disagree, but and not even to push back necessarily. I like to look at it as if I make profit, then I will put financial support towards an artist, for example, or a collection that I actually, that I'm friends with someone that's a developer, for example. That's the time I think, if you're profitable, why would you not? Like obviously take care of your bills, take profits, like as you said, help your children, whatever. That's all absolutely necessary. And if you have a little left over, why would you not support in that way? But then also, I'd like to add, lastly, that there are other ways to support, especially, we're approaching a bull market. So if you're just reposting and tweeting and liking content from creators, that is actually supporting, and that's a free way to do so. And then when the time is right, back to what I originally said, when you're profitable in other projects that you curated to actually make profits, then why not throw the financial support in? So I just look at it as a total package that we all could definitely implement more and more. And I really appreciate that post. I especially the aspect of not saturating, not having your voice get saturated. That's something I'm learning as I grow in Web3 on X. So thank you. That's my 2 cents.
Gringo, I wanted to chime in on that, man, because I think we're a bit in the same boat. I had an instance where I was pulling some of my trading profits into buying art, and it was fun. But as you know, profits can be fleeting, and we had some of those in March, and then we had
Yeah.
quite a spell where we didn't have those. So I think there can be longer stretches of bears than bulls in crypto, if that's what you're referring to, taking profits.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might be talking about profits from somewhere else. I wanted to clarify. But I was curious how we plan to sustain this art space if we're going to be very, very intermittently financially supporting artists. And yeah, I would agree there's other ways to support, like you mentioned, any ways of sharing their work, of lifting them up, of giving them time to shine. Lots of ways to do it. But how do we make this sustainable? Because I feel like we've gone through such a long, hellish bear that a lot of artists have dropped out. So what's the solution? What's the middle ground there?
I look at it as bull market fixes everything. So and again, it's blockchain. So even if an artist, quote unquote, fell off, did they really? Because their art still lives on a blockchain, so it's not going anywhere. So you could always revive that. But on top of that, it's like that we're all going to be making money. And then the financial support can be thrown around. So I look at it as a timing issue. During the bear, it's a lot harder to show financial support, especially if you're not already a whale. And, and that's when I would say the timing of it. Okay, well, support on X as much as possible and promote. That's a free way to help a friend. But then now we're getting into the bull. I just see an NFT super cycle about to hit, to be completely honest. And I think we're all going to have so much liquidity. We just hook each other up and have fun. That's how I look at it.
Your words to God's ear is what I'm going to say there, Stefan. I think you were going to respond as well, so I'll let you go ahead.
I respectfully, I actually really disagree with that, and because on the most part, my entire practice is around sustainability. It's like, how can I help artists grow? How can I help artists move into new territory and into new ideas? And whether if that's printmaking, taking on new media, exhibiting work, new audiences getting their eyes on it. And that's why I preach to the choir, literally, publish, 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 because there's plenty of artists that went through the bear and they didn't publish anything, and they don't have much to show for because they were on social media just saying, hey, when the bull market comes back, people will care about me, and there'll be more liquidity, and people
I
will buy my
completely
art.
agree with where you're going with this. That is, I'm not talking about everyone. I'm not saying just support someone you met at a Web3 conference one time. If they were lazy during the bear, that's a completely different argument. And I see where you're going, and I absolutely agree. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. But I think it's a common theme that with token economies in these ecosystems, we get so carried away from why we all kind of got here in the first place, and especially from an artistic practice, it's so easy to check, token charts or learn about these new blockchain technologies or these new applications or watch all these, creators doing DeFi things. And it's really easy to be in the dumps and depressed and not focused while everything's going down. But at the same time, some of the strongest relationships and people that I've ever met in crypto came throughout the bear. And that was a time of reflection. That was a time to say, hey, like gas is low. We can, like, it provides completely different constraints that we can lean into, that will then prepare us for what is to come. And I don't think luck I mean, obviously, if you're trading shit coins, luck can happen in a variety of ways, but you need to understand the times and the moments and be prepared for them, to get lucky. And I think all of that kind of happens throughout bear markets. That's just my perspective on sustainability.
Well, also, I think the bear market just pivoted a lot of ways in which people were collecting. Like, people were very trigger happy in 2021 when money was flowing in, obviously. And I think also a lot of collectors at that time were also new, not even to Web3, but collecting in general. And actually, Stefan, it's something you mentioned in the original tweet, that the nature of things being digital, it's a lot easier to start collecting when things are digital. It's a lot easier to be collecting and supporting your friends and kind of following these hype trains because it's digital. You don't see that in the traditional art world. Like, you're not going to be buying a $10,000 painting just to support an artist but not really love the art. Like, you're going to buy it because you like the art and you're going to put it up in your house or somewhere. It's very different. And I think the nature of this digital ecosystem, made it very easy for people to just be pulling the trigger. And as, like you mentioned, the bear market, one of these pivots was people's collecting styles, I think, are changing. People are slowing down. People are maybe reflecting on, what they purchased, and really being more selective in terms of what they choose to collect. So I love that triggered a few hands going up. I did see NFT Freaks being the first one to put his hand up, so I'm going to throw him the mic. GM Freaks, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning to all of you badass people, because I see so many of you that are just amazing. It's not just a freak show or a Vasia show or hard art. It's all of us. I see all these usernames, and one thing that I've learned, and I'm not a big massive collector, but I'll tell you this. I came with $0 in 2021. At the height, I had about $208,000, and I'm about 160 to 180 in just deficit losses. I don't know where they are. I don't know what's happening. And so, yes, I have very cold feet. I do have to reassess because I have a family. My wife's asking me what the hell happened. But I've come to the conclusion that when I meet people like Vasia, who's also a Sly Guys holder, but created Moments Agency and continues to run her own hustle, then I've come to the conclusion that the activity between us is what I am really collecting. I can't force artists to give me gains. I can't force anybody to make my wallet grow. But what I can ask is that if I collect you, bring your activity, because I'm a hustler. I can bounce off of your activity. And so if we show up for each other, if Gringo shows up for me and I show up for Gringo, then I believe we have collected each other correctly, because we are both using each other as leverage, reputation, historical evidence. I mean, there's people in here, Icky, Vasia, HardArt. There's people where we have a historical track record of hustling together, which means that if I hodl your NFT, I don't need to harass you. I don't need to be on your back. If you're alive and you're active in the space, baby, we have life with whatever cycle comes around. And what bothers me is that when I've lost that money, I look back and I say, I don't even have the activity. And I look at the people here that I didn't collect, that were completely active, that I could have gained some type of momentum from. It could have helped my GMs in the morning. It could have helped a post that needed to be seen further, or an artist that needed to be seen further. So I have this conclusion of saying, you know what? As long as you're actively seeking opportunity, you're a great person to collect here in this market. And again, I don't think anybody should guarantee anything, but if we're going to be online, if we use the video game streamers and we see how they've become so popular and reeling in brands because their audience is rallying them, then that's technically what I'm doing here. I'm rallying Vasia, she's rallying me, and together we're becoming streamers of Web3, however we want to do it. But in between that, yes, we are trying to hodl each other's collections and projects and art so that we can show that as a reflection. And I think that's going to take a while for all of us to combine our efforts, align our efforts. We're all going to have our own theories. We're not going to get along. If you read too much into the promos that Freaks does, you're going to fall in love with the Stone Cold Steve Austin, but you're not going to fall in love with the real wrestler behind the gimmick. The Undertaker's the Undertaker, and Mark Calloway is the person that controls the Undertaker. I'm Vangeli, and this is NFT Freaks. So the bold approach that I give is the way that I cut my promos and slice down my audience, but it's the activity you should collect in order to boost me forward. So that's all I want to say. And the last thing I want to say is when you look at politics, when you look at these administrations that could have easily forgot each other, could have easily threw in the hat and threw in the towel just because, one son is vocal about his dad. If that son's not as vocal, they don't have the same chance. And that's what reminds me about the bull and bear here. It's not over because we're in the bear, and it's not over because you're not being seen. What really should come between us is that I need you and you need me. And whatever happens after that, man, it's going to be great money spent between us, because I never thought, hey, I've sold something crazy to Vasia, or hey, I've always looked at it like, man, I'm so glad this person collected a Sly Guys, and I'm so glad with the hustle that she puts out. And so when you say, hey, do you have time? No, I don't have time. I actually took my lunch, but I'm going to make time because you bought the things that I'm offering. And I firmly believe that is the service that everybody here should give each other. Thank you.
V, I just want to start off by saying you started by saying you're not a big, massive collector, but you are one of the biggest, massive supporters. So I just want to throw that out there. And what you said at the end is also very true. Just whoever's in your community, I always see you trying to push them up and really support in any way you can. So I guess I have a follow-up question more towards Stefan, just to follow up on what V said, because I think he's coming more from a, supporting kind of way. So Stefan, like when you are collecting artwork, does it influence your decision if like you have that relationship with them, or is it purely based on the artwork itself? Like, do you pay attention to how the artist is moving and what they're doing when you're collecting, or it's literally if the art itself resonates with you? Like, do you take on other aspects into consideration when collecting?
For sure. It's a culmination of both. But at the same time, the work needs to speak to me. I mean, I have a really great story from 2021. There was an artist, I won't mention his name, but he was very popular, still is very popular. And I started to build a relationship with him in DMs, and I was saying, hey, so interested in your work, all this stuff. And he came across to me with an opportunity, and I really didn't like the work that he offered. It just wasn't for me. And at the time, every edition that this artist offered would be flipped for like 10x on the secondary market. And I think for most people, like probably almost everyone that he offered the work to, accepted it. And I actually didn't. I rejected it, and I said, "Hey, this isn't for me," and because it just didn't fit within my collection. And I gained his respect. That was like the start of our. I think he couldn't believe it. Like it was like a moment of like, what the hell? Like why don't you want this? It's like it's free money. But that's always the approach that I've taken to the space, is that of course I need money to sustain. I need money to survive. But my priorities are there are many that are above that. And so yeah, it's like the work needs to speak to me, and I wanna know that I'm supporting, quote unquote, someone's career, someone that's in it for the long run, not that's gonna technically disappear tomorrow. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like the art and they disappear and you can just enjoy it for what it is, then that's one thing. But and that's fine too. But my perspective has always been that I want to collect things that they take their career very, very serious, and that they're here for the long run.
Okay, thank you for responding. I definitely understand that take. I'm going to make a weird analogy, but I feel like it has something to do with your tweet, and I'm just curious because for me personally, it's just essentially when we're talking about relationships, right, and getting to know people and getting to know artists. If you meet someone, I compare it honestly to like people you might be attracted to or dating, right? If you meet someone and they're very attractive to you when you initially meet them, but then you get to know them and their personality is terrible. Like they're not nice, they're rude, they're whatever. Like, I'm sorry, but to me, you're not a 10 anymore. Like, it definitely affects my perception of you, right? And the reverse is also true. Like, you could take a solid 7, but if the personality is amazing, like I'm more attracted to that individual, right? So does that also apply to art, to collecting? Like, does yours, Stefan, I'm going to directly ask you, but I'll let other people chime in as well. Does it impact how you perceive the actual artwork once you get to know that person and develop a relationship?
100%. Yeah, no, art is, that's what I love most about art. It's subjective. Like, not only are our thoughts and opinions and the critiques that we make online about digital art, or even looking at paintings and talking to people in person, not only is that conversation influencing how we interpret and understand and evoke emotion to these works, but within our own brains and within our own experiences and our own backgrounds, these things are constantly changing, and our moods, and how we view the work. I think presentation is a massive example of ways to understand and interpret these things. Like, for example, yesterday I went and saw a painting by Ripcatch in person, and it's like you can't beat that experience by looking at it through your browser on your phone. Like, it's just a completely different kind of way to understand the work. And yeah, I'm fascinated by this ever evolving idea that, like, my collection is essentially just marking these moments in time for me. And I might look back at things and be like, why did I collect that at that time? And there's like a story that I could draw to. Like, there's a moment that I can look to and provide context behind it. And I think the best example of this is like, I used to look at like Ellsworth Kelly, which is very minimalist work. I walked right by it. Like, I would never. I didn't appreciate it. Like, I didn't like it at the time because of how minimal it was. With this, just small, literally like one color of a square or a rounded curve, and now I'm like, it's breathtaking. Like, I look at minimalist type work, and this is probably through my love of generative art. And I look at Ellsworth Kelly, and stops me in my steps. Like, I'm completely fascinated with it. So that's a much longer. Yeah, it took 6 years of probably disliking Kelly to now loving Kelly. But yeah, it's constantly evolving.
Okay, cool. I wanted to share the mic and swing it to the ladies. Thank you for waiting patiently. I'm going to go to Dogecoin fam first. GM, how are you?
Oh, GM guys, doing very well, and thank you for inviting me. I feel very, very lucky. As Stefan said, you need to feel lucky in this situation. So right now, considering the memes, I am feeling lucky. Also, considering what Gringo said, that for artists to just come back and just say, "Here's my art, can you buy it?" I've had a few DMs in the last week saying, "Hi, I'm back. Here's a piece of art. Can you buy it or can you look at it?" And I haven't seen them for a year. So, I responded, "Matt, it looks good," but I won't do anything because I actually, that's my new philosophy. I only buy art from the people that I met in person. That is something really new. When I started collecting in 2021, I just collected random. And the first piece, because I actually started with crypto first, Dogecoin family. The first piece that really got my attention was Trevor, where I collected the Bitcoin Angel. And it came with a castle party, and it was innovating, and it had a story to tell. because I appreciate artists that tell a story and that have put thought to it and that really do something innovating. That speaks to me, and especially well, looking at the last drop that Trevor did, which has the Bitcoin crypto angels, it had the archangels, it had a physical. So I really appreciate the artists that were here in the last bear market, which I know was long, but I appreciated them showing up and showing what they were working on, or working on prints, or just finding other ways to financially just keep doing what they do, which is art. And I actually like supporting art from artists that I know. Also, what I do like from artists is that, for example, I just collected Pepito from Rick Oostenbroek. And you know, there's so many drops and so many people, but it was really nice for him to send me a DM saying, you know, I have this drop, you're on the white list, would you like to mint? So for me to get that DM, I felt really privileged. And I minted a Pepito, which was really cool. So that I do like building the relationship with the artist, and I also feel glad that, you know, when I post that I collected the piece, they retweet it, so it means they're happy that it's in my collection, and that I'm proud of. And also, you know, we are all going to make it. I think, to be honest, a few are going to make it. Yes, we might have some money coming in when we're back in the bull, but that still means that I will only be collecting artists that are innovating and doing things like, for example, I like it when it's an art digital, so it has the print and the NFT together, or a story to tell, and it's innovating, because mostly a lot of things are really boring at the moment, to be honest.
Thank you so much for sharing and coming on stage. I just want to start off by saying, if people are not familiar with Dogecoin Fam, please make sure to give her a follow. She is one of the most genuine individuals and collectors in this space. I really have a lot of love for her. She's not only active regarding, you know, doing her research and really wanting to connect with the artists, but she shows support in so many ways, from going to IRL shows. I know Castle Party. I cannot wait to see you at Trevor's next Castle Party. But also, just like we said before, it's all about supporting in various ways. And you do so in every which way possible. And I really respect what you said about, you know, being selective with who you collect and making sure that you take the time to really build that relationship. I think at the end of the day, regardless of the quote unquote monetary return, or if it's going to go up in value one day, you're winning regardless of that dollar amount, because you're building these experiences, you're building those relationships and connections. So I love that about you, and I have a lot of love and respect. So again, if you guys don't know Dogecoin Fam, make sure to give her a follow. And thank you again for joining. There was a few things you mentioned that kind of jumped the gun in terms of what I wanted to mention in the conversation. So if you're around later, I would love to also ask a few questions specifically in a bit. That being said, I want to throw the mic to Rachel Wood, who was patiently waiting. And then I do see Icky on stage, who I'm very excited to hear from as well. It's been a minute, Icky. But yeah, we'll jump to you guys next. So Rachel, GM, how are you?
Good morning. I wanted to first ask Selkie if she wanted to speak. I know her hand was raised before mine, but I didn't know if she had to leave.
I think maybe she did, which I feel so bad, because I would have loved to have heard from her. There are a lot of people on stage too, so I'm going to have to eventually rotate through a few just to get new people that are requesting on stage. But Rachel, go ahead. Mic is all yours.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this short and sweet, but amazing conversation. Vasia, Milton, nice to see you. I wish I was there in Marfa to see you guys. I love this conversation, and Stefan, I'm incredibly flabbergasted by what you've had to say about collecting. I think it shows a real depth and personality to what you're doing in this space, and I think we need more people like you, like getting your voice out, showing new to collecting people who don't know how to really go about collecting, just to showing them another way versus just following the trends. I think that's really wonderful what you're doing. Kudos to that. I did have a few things. So one is, you know, the saying, the bear is for building. I think the bowl, which is what feels like happening right now, the bowl is for bags, and not just crypto degen bags, but collectors bags as well as artist bags. What's really wonderful about the previous bull market is that a lot of artists were able to make a lot of money. They were able to inspire and get a lot of their friends into this space. There was fun. But then when the bear hit and people had their bags and, people had to like be pushed to innovate and try new things. But then also, I think it led to a lot of deeper connections where, like the saying says, the bear led to a lot of building. And sure, a lot of things failed, but a lot of things started to happen. A lot of actual real tools and connections and things were springing up, and I think that's what the space needed, that chance to breathe, that chance to like settle down, and that chance to just start trying things out. Of course, money is always needed as artists, but we should always diversify where we're getting our income. And I don't think Web3, at least for the short bit, is really a feasible solo income for any artist. Even like top artists, they're also diversifying. Um, Lastly, I think just a few quick things. I don't know if anyone saw the Art Basel 2024 Basel report, but it's not just in the crypto scene, it's not just the crypto NFT art collectors, but collectors all around the world have seen a trend where they're not spontaneously buying just from seeing something awesome. That there is a much deeper, higher trend that's going up where collectors are wanting to know more about the artist, more about the art, and doing their own research before they hit that buy button, before they commit. And I think that is such a wonderful thing as an artist to hear, because I don't want, my art to just sit in someone's vault after, 5 seconds on the timeline and then it's nothing. Like that is such a, I don't know, it feels gutted almost for my art to just be seen as something like that is just a passing fancy. So I love that trend, and I think artists can take that point away in to the future as they're thinking about how they're presenting their art, how they're showing up on the timeline. um, that's like just a short little point to collecting, is making that experience go beyond just that transaction. The tech is coming, we're getting better platforms, we're getting better tools where we can bring the experience along of collectors and artists, having this symbiotic relationship that's different. And then lastly, I know I'm rambling, but lastly, I just wanted to say that Dogecoin, she is a wonderful person here in this space, and I love that she said she only buys from people she meets in person. I have met her in person, just saying, and she has supported one of my projects recently. But I also just wanted to say that um, going to NFT events are real. It's a real privilege to be able to do so, and I understand that privilege. But I also want to say that it cost a lot to me as an artist to do so. Like that was my priority, and it's paid off. Like I've been able, actually, all of my one-of-one sales have been because I've met people in real life at these crypto and NFT events. Like all of my sales have happened because they met me in person first, and whether or not you can go to these crypto events, that's fine. But there are art events around people. There are galleries. There are festivals. Anyone can be a collector per se. Around you, you should never judge someone based on how you perceive them, on if they'll collect your art or not, or if they can hashtag afford your art or not. Um, I think people really need to start looking at collectors as more than just that transaction again. Um, that tech is coming, the tech is here, and we need to build that sustainable ecosystem around collecting and around artists and around just that more playful funness that we had early on in a more sustainable way. So, okay, off my soapbox, but I love this conversation. I love to hear what other people say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Always nice hearing from you. And you mentioned a lot of good things. I think a lot of the things you tapped into, I mean, just the organic progression of the space, and a word that definitely came up in the last few episodes as well was being intentional, the way that we move forward, the way that we collect, the way that we build. So I'm definitely with you. And of course, the importance of the IRL at the end of the day. We've talked so much about the networking and how important that is. Okay, without further ado, I'm super excited to hear from him. Hi, Icky, GM. How are you?
Oh my God, hello. How you doing, Vasia? How you doing, Mama? You okay?
I miss you. Yeah, I miss you.
This is like a reunion. We got Milton up here.
Seriously.
We got So I'm glad to hear that Doge, like Rick, told you that you were on the whitelist and stuff. That's great. He didn't message me, so you can give him a slap from me the next time you see him. No, I'm kidding. He's been in my messages for the last 6 months relentlessly, so I'm not going to complain. No, he's been checking up on me. Yeah, I didn't even know there was a bear. I wasn't even I wasn't around for the bear. I was like, I don't know where I was. I was hanging out, having fun. So yeah, but fortunately, Trevor and all you, you guys have kept me up to date. So I've been at least mildly in the loop. I only kind of clicked initially because I thought it was a good tweet to cover as a session, but also I wasn't sure if anyone was going to come up and talk. And then of course I got up here and realized you got a whole bunch of really smart people that have something to say. So in the end, it just was like, a nice moment or whatever, like what I did there, Vasia, moments. See how I did that? But look, I mean, in terms of like the collecting speak, I guess, should I say something of value, V, or should I just like leave it at
You
that?
could
I don't
sit
know.
here and look pretty, Icky, whatever you prefer, but
I mean, I know one is more challenging than the other, so I'll just speak. So in terms of like, yeah, I mean, it's true what you say, like that emotional collecting, right? I think it was Gertrude Stein said, you can either buy clothes or buy pictures. It's that simple, or Ellie Broad, talking about art as an experience, and, what you collect is to take responsibility for sharing that experience. So I think kind of emotional collecting, which is what I'm calling it just for now. It's not a real thing, guys, so don't like repeat that. You might look like an idiot to people. But yeah, it's kind of emotional led collecting. I think is really important. I think it's really important because Web3 is like the the loonies have taken over the asylum. You got a bunch of people acting like financial institutions. Because if you think about the way valuation works in trad art, it's like the people that buy the really expensive, amazing pieces at auction that hit record prices. I mean, they're financial institutions. They're investment banks. They're Nomura. And then you look at the larger, more collectors, and they really set the scene for what the value should be. It's a mixture between curatorial focus from galleries, collectors that are willing to engage with those galleries, and at varying degrees, as an artist kind of finds their way, and then the critic, right? And in Web3, we don't have a critic, and we don't have real curatorial, authority or respect. And we certainly don't have critique, right? Because it's like all of these things are very hard to do if you're operating in a kind of decentralized environment. And so what that means is that the valuation model for art becomes the only goal, right? The investment, making money, and you've got a bunch of basically traders acting as pseudo collectors because that's the latest financial asset to them, and I think that's just a product of the space. And so you've got these crazy valuation models where artists that clearly don't deserve the kind of appraisals that they're getting are getting it. People that aren't real artists being working artists, right? I mean, people that dedicate a part of their time to doing this, and thus are more likely to leave and do other things. And then you've got the kind of middle of that all the way down to the grifters, right? And it's very hard to kind of work out where people sit within that. So people that collect in the way that you were describing, Stephen. I think Stephen is the name. Sorry if I pronounce that wrong. It's Stefan or Stephen. I think it's important because I think that's kind of the first step, right? That you have people like what you're doing and collecting that way, and then you start to form some kind of respect, right? You need to lead the asylum, right? Because only then you can get real curatorial respect, right? Where you've got this curator working with this collector, there's a certain level of respect. Other people will then follow because they set the trend, right? As opposed to a Cosimo Medici, whatever, working with these 15 friends to buy one artist. They all buy a piece and then they all start pumping it and FOMO sets in. Everyone does it, that kind of crypto meme coin playbook, right? And this is not a dig at what's going on. It's a natural evolution of what would happen, right? It's kind of like what you expect it to happen this way. I'm not taking a dig at anyone. It's just what I'm observing, right? And I'm just telling you. So for me, it's really positive. It's really positive when you've got artists like, I think Tyler Hobbs you'd mentioned, right? Rick you'd mentioned. And these are people I personally as an artist have a lot of respect for, right? And so, I see collectors talking about these types of artists, and I think, yes, if that's kind of, the direction you're going, then it's just a case of taste or preference. And the only other thing I want to say is with regards to, you mentioned minimalism, right? And the only thing I can say to that is welcome. You know, it takes a while, but eventually you all come around. So, you know, that's all I'll say about that, beauty and simplicity and all that. But anyway, that's what I have to add. And I've got my ticket for the castle party. And it's probably, look, between us, right? Just this small audience. I don't know how many people are here, like 30, 40 people or whatever. But just between us, I have a feeling it could be the last one. So go buy your fucking ticket. Go buy your fucking ticket, because there's only one NFT event that doesn't feel like an NFT event, and that is the Trevor Jones Bitcoin Angel Castle Party, where the absolutely best people on earth are. And hearing the tunes at the start of this, I was thinking pool party, I was thinking the vibe. We've all still got 6 months to get in shape. Like, there's no excuse. Just do it. Everyone that is anyone who is important or relevant is going. So stop fucking about and go get a ticket. So if you go, I'll meet you all there.
Icky, thank you so much for shilling for us. Usually we have to do that ourselves. So
It's not
that's
even a
a
shill though, dude. I'm saying genuinely. Like, come on, how are you serious? Like, how fun was it? Are you gonna? It's not even a shill. Like, I have nothing to gain.
no,
No, no,
I
no.
kid.
It's just come. It's so much fun, guys. Just come.
No, it's the honest truth. We're looking forward to it. I got my tickets as well. I'm trying to bring the whole fam once again, like I did for the first one. So looking forward to seeing you there again, man. Hey, I wanted to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there because we are a young industry in Web3 artwork. I know you mentioned the curatorial galleries, their collector relations, and the critics are three crucial parties that perhaps don't really exist. In the past marketplaces, they've received critique of themselves. We had, for example, last week, No Creative Chris telling us that. The curatorial process behind some of those platforms was simply looking at their Instagram followers. If they had 100,000 plus, they were on the platform, right? Like, but
Is he talking
these are
about super
commercial.
rare?
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's.
yeah, yeah. He's right. He's
He's right, right? So, like, what's the maturing process look like? Because I think you've seen, you've been away from the bear, but to bring you up to speed, we had the great platforms talk, the great market talk, and we've seen a lot of platforms pivot. We've seen a lot of them go virtually quiet. A ton of them have gone down, unfortunately. But what does that look like? Like, how do we find something sustainable? Stefan is talking about sustainability. Like, where do we bring in these curatorial galleries? Are there any examples of any ones like that doing a good job for us now?
I,
Collector relations teams, critics, like where do we find our Jerry Salts of Web3, right?
Yeah, I think it's a really tricky question, right? The first thing I would say though is that the platform doesn't matter, and independence and self-marketing is kind of its own beast now. So I think in the past, platforms are going to become more and more irrelevant. I think people will be writing their own contracts, they'll be directing traffic to their websites, as long as they have enough trust. You know, the question is trust, right? A bit of trust, you know, in terms of how you store and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think that's not even a question. I think the platforms acting as curatorial. We saw a large shift in that over the last 3 years, right? Like you saw the shift from like homogenizing curatorial as business went down. You needed more artists, more volume. You start to bring in more people. You stop having any form of curatorial. Then you see sub marketplace shifting back to more hyper curated to try and give a rebranding of kind of some kind of prestige or quality, right? You know, like your Maker's Place and things like that. So, you know, they've all tried to do it, right? In the end, I just think they're going to be redundant. I think they have to offer a lot more value. So perhaps it's in kind of working with kind of content design brands selling curatorial. Maybe that is a way for them. I don't know, as a business model. But I think collectors have to lead the way. I think people like Stephen have to lead the way, because what unfortunately what it takes in a space like this is capital, right? So when I was collecting more, when other people were collecting a lot more, you know, suddenly you have a voice, you get more followers, you get more engagement, and that gives you a platform. And I think if your intention is to make money, then you already have a conflict, right? And it's not like we need to sign recusals, right? So I think ultimately, like, it needs to come from somebody that's genuine, looking to buy art. You know, there's people out there. You know, you look at collectors. Like, did you see the collector that won the Bitcoin Angel raffle, Noslama? Like this is somebody who's, who's been collecting. I've never seen them sell. I've never seen them complain. You look at their collection, it's phenomenal, right? But it's a reflection of what they like. They happen to be a very big pack collector, for example, and they've commissioned work from pack, one of the only people in the space. There's people like that aren't really about making the money, outside of maybe some small fun here and there, collectibles and stuff like that, which is, totally fine, right? They're in it for, just buying stuff that they like and kind of self-curation. I think if people were like that, were willing to be more vocal, if they had it in them, if they had the personality, then I think that would be a really good start. And again, it's about once you get enough of these people, you then get some people acting as critics. If I started becoming a critic, so if I stopped selling art in the space, right, full stop, just stopped, and I decided that I just wanted to act as a critic, I would be well positioned to do it, right? Because I've got no incentive, right? So I could just be out there, but you have to be very willing to take the rough with the good as a critic. And then if you can bounce off of good collectors, build a good environment, do it the right way, amicably, then maybe there's a chance that you can begin to set the trends in what's actually considered good. And it's not always going to be who's already popping off. And I think that will be a foundation to then have us be the signals to the people with, who want to trade this and actually make some money at it through a kind of more active investment. You're just changing the way the valuation model looks, Milton. You know what I mean? Like we're setting the way it looks instead of just whoever's got the biggest wallet.
Yeah, I think that's well put. If you can find somebody that's got the background like the winner you just mentioned, commissioning work, really diving in deep to an artist that they love and spending the money to have something custom made. I mean, that speaks volumes. So I from what I read from your response is it's essentially got to happen organically, and it's not going to happen overnight. But we do need some real tastemakers to come in, and those people to be hopefully loud voices and find some people that are not just at the top of the timeline every day or the top of the sales feeds at Christie's. So I like that take.
Community. That's the other take. There you go. There's an answer. Community is the other way. So you look at like someone like Rick Oostenbrook or Bill Ellis's Discord. The type of people that surround themselves in places like that and talk to other collectors of that particular artist. That's a really good foundation to build that kind of culture.
Great take. Great take, Kiki. And again, great to hear from you, man. Look forward to seeing you in June 2025, if not before then, hopefully before then, but definitely at Castle Party.
Bring more tobacco this time.
I got you. I got you. I was the cigar smuggler last time, so I'm happy to be the mule once again, if that's what's asked of me. If that's where I bring my value to the community, so be it. Um, good to see you, dude. Hey, so let's pass the mic. I'm curious to hear some more philosophies here. I've got some hands raised. NFT freaks, I do see your hand raised, though I wanted to try and pass the mic to maybe a couple people who haven't had the chance to speak yet. We do have Maid is on stage with us. Maid and Maddie J. I wanted to get to them briefly. Maid, yeah, curious to hear your philosophy here, your collecting philosophy. Maid, if you want to unmute, if not, I see Maddie J raising his hand. Maddie J, hop up if Maid doesn't pick up here in 3, 2, 1. Okay,
I'll
Maddie,
jump
it's
down and
all
give you some
yours.
space.
GM.
Hey, GM, Maddie.
GM.
Hey, we can hear you. How you doing?
Oh, hi. Hello, good evening. So
Bullish.
I think I'll just pass the mic because pretty much everything I wanted to say has been discussed already. 'Cause I mean, it's been fantastic being you guys midst. I really enjoyed the conversation and I really still want to be here listening to you guys because I think where I wanted to ship in, someone already discussed that and I'm very happy to be here. I'm Taiwo, by the way, I'm from Nigeria.
Hey, thanks for being with us, Maid. Yeah, so if it's already been covered, feel free to chime in a little later if something comes up in your mind that hasn't been covered yet. But until then, we'll go to Maddie J. Maddie J, what's going on?
I'm bullish. I'm super bullish. I'm ridiculously bullish on 1v1 artists because that is the level that comes after the craziness of what we're going to see in the next 6 months. I believe all the artists that have built their base, like Rachel Woods here, over the last 3 years of hard slog, I've watched Rachel relentlessly working and on X and in her career, and I've seen it. There's more artists like that around as well, and those guys, to me, those guys are going to eat. They're going to get a good seat at the table. they built their community, and they're going to be amplified because they stuck around, and even when it was hard. The philosophy, the curation is the word that I've been listening to here. As an amateur collector, I believe the professional collectors, a lot of those guys have proper art training backgrounds, and they've been hanging out with the big names like this guy down here. What's his name, Michael? Stephen. There he is. See, I just followed him. I looked at his page and I said to myself, that guy's got the eye. And he's got an eye for curation. And I don't think many people have got that. I think people like art and it looks great, but for somebody, and like I'll look at a collector, I'll look at their collection, I'll think to myself, none of that's going to get a secondary, because while I was collecting all kinds of art back in 2021,
Maddie, sorry, I got to
when
interrupt you
things
real
were good.
quick. Your line is a little bit fuzzy. I'm not sure if you can adjust the mic there, but you're getting some feedback coming in. While you fix that, I just want to touch on something you mentioned, which I thought is pretty interesting. You talked about Rachel being here, and Icky just talked about being gone for some of the bear market. I'm curious what people think here about as we re-enter a bull, if it's absolutely essential that somebody was here through the bear. Was it okay for people to take off? Because I think we've had this discussion a couple times on this show now where we said, look, there's a unique opportunity in Web3 to really get to know the artist where we can bypass the gallery. That doesn't really happen in the traditional world. I'm curious to bring Stefan back into the conversation, kind of what he thinks about that, because inevitably we're going to see artists return to the space that uh, for lack of a better word, were shunned a bit. That would be the least colorful way to put it. But there were a lot of collectors who were really upset when their digital artists that they collected from and they financially supported, they left, they disappeared. They didn't have great PR writers for their disappearance either if they announced it. So yeah, I'm curious, Stefan, your take. Is it okay for people to return now? Because we're just gonna see that, I know.
Wait, can I quickly respond back to Maddie J?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. We'll get
Okay.
Stefan on next.
Yeah, real quick, because it's super early in the morning for me, and I might fall asleep. And I do want to hear what Stefan has to say about this great question, Milt. But first, I just wanted to thank you, Maddie J. That's so kind of you to like see and recognize and just call me out. That means the world to me. I just wanted to just remind people because I was talking about this with Una that whether you're a collector or an artist, um, a bit of advice is that whether you're selling or buying, and if you win, you should be really excited and really proud and you should let loose, but only do that for like a day. And it's the same with big losses, and it's the same with like disappointing things. It's don't um, don't hold on to the moment and let it define you. You should feel it, but then let it pass, whether it's good or bad, because we need to keep building. We need to keep doing better. We need to keep working towards a more sustainable community here in this space. And also, just really quickly, I think for those artists who had to step away, really depends on the reasons of stepping away and stepping up and coming back. If it's for money, because they're like, oh, there's no money, I don't want to do it, and then they come back because there's money, we shouldn't be afraid to want money. Like artists should be going where they are able to make money. And if X isn't the place, then sure, why not? But if it's more of an ego thing, I'm not as great or supportive about that. Like I lost my cameras last year. I haven't been able to create art for an entire year almost. And I have still showed up in this space in every way I can as an artist to support other artists, maybe not financially, but to support them, to educate them, to connect with collectors, to, still put out work and to still build. I think that's something to be said about those who are in the space, who have been doing that, who have been weathering the bear market. But it also doesn't give us any sort of like, I wouldn't say any expectation to just suddenly be like, oh, collectors need to look at me first because I've been here. I know it hurts our soul to think that we've essentially wasted 2 years when other people could have taken time away and then come back and made it more than us. But it all goes to those collectors of, if collectors don't care if I've been in this space building and putting my heart and soul out on the timeline, maybe they're not my collectors. That's fine. There's hopefully going to be all different kinds of collectors out there, all different kinds of supporters. And for those who do value what brings artists here and what keeps artists here and what keeps them doing and creating, I think that's why I'm here, and that's why remain here. And I think
Rachel, if I can jump in, I want to agree, disagree before we hand the mic to Stefan. I definitely agree with you that, for people that maybe perhaps took a step back, it is important to acknowledge what those reasons were. And I definitely think that there are the characters that, hey, we're not making money here, like we're dipping, and they never looked back. I completely agree with you there. I do also want to give people grace though, because, outside of, and I think someone mentioned it in the comments, I think Gringo dropped it in the comments that, sometimes, okay, we need to support ourselves. We need to eat. Like you're going to have to take a step back, maybe not invest all of your time and, go make money elsewhere. And that's totally obviously okay. And then I think there's a third component, which many of us might not take into consideration, but we really should, is the fact that people have actual lives and, things happen. And unfortunately, people go through difficult situations. So kind of just giving people grace because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors as well. I definitely think the way in which people went about approaching things makes a difference. And you mentioned, kind of wasting time in this space the last 2 years while other people left and then came back and were embraced, no problem. I disagree only with that bit because I don't believe any time is wasted. I think, the experience, the relationships built, just if you spent the 2 years here, it wasn't wasted. There was some kind of positive, there was some kind of benefit. So, people are going to do what they're going to do. And it's shouldn't even be on our radar to an extent because, you're going to just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to definitely attract the right individuals. So that was kind of my 2 cents there. I know the question was originally towards Stefan, so I'll give him the mic. And then I do see Chris and Maddie with their hands up. So we'll bounce around the room. But Stefan, go ahead if you wanted to tackle that question.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack, but yeah, really appreciating this convo. It depends on what kind of artist you are and what kind of practice you're trying to build. For example, if you are working with anything tangible and then bringing it into this NFT world, there's a lot of work that goes into that. You can't just be GMing on the timeline all day. And I think a lot of people forget that even digital artists, this stuff takes time. You can't just pop out quote unquote great artworks every single day. Maybe some people will perceive it that way, but I think to build a true practice, it takes a lot of experimenting. It takes a lot of seeing. You need to see the world through the lens you're trying to look. Through. You're trying to reach somewhere, trying to get someplace, whether that's conceptually or within your own ideas and concepts. And I don't know, from my experience, that just you can't. It just doesn't happen overnight. And so I go in with the mindset that when I collect or even curate, it's I'm not expecting something. I'm expecting something out of the artist if we're setting deadlines and we need to get business done. But in terms of just purely supporting, it's there shouldn't be this expectation from the artist. I look at it as a privilege. I feel privileged that an artist is giving me the opportunity to collect a part of them. It's a little piece of their soul that they're giving me the opportunity to cherish. And I just wanted to say one more thing, because obviously now when the markets are better, but even when the markets were bad, people, I think within our space on the topic of critics and curators and stuff, they're a bit scared to say their opinion, to have an idea, and more so, the only things that we see are positive, or reinforcing that you're doing a good job. And I don't think that's not reality. Like, reality is like more that people don't like a lot of things, and I think support can come also in that way. I think that's the best, the most genuine advice and stuff that I've ever received, where I was just honest with people. I was just like, hey, I don't like this. Or when an artist sends me something, it's like, hey, it's just not for me. And that allows artists to grow. That allows them to, you know, rub some dirt on their work ethic and like really dive into it. Because in reality, does the bull market make it easier? Maybe, but you still need people to care. You still need to lay a foundation, and that only comes with curiosity and being genuine and seeking out people who are going to tell you the truth. Because in reality, too, blockchains are permissionless, they're trustless. We can't define if someone leaves and comes back and what their intentions are, because a lot of people are anonymous and pseudo, and there isn't a one path fits all. Every artist is going to take on their own unique journey, and how we perceive that will be unique to our journeys as well. So collect with intention, and take the good with the bad is what I'll leave off with.
Stefan, I'm definitely with you, especially regarding what you just mentioned with being honest. And I'm such a huge fan of constructive. I don't want you to sugarcoat. I want you to be direct and help me grow and evolve. And I think one thing I know you have to, so one thing I do want to kind of circle back to regarding your initial thread, I'm just going to make Chris wait a little longer. So thanks for the patience, Chris. But you mentioned in the original tweet, and you made this like twofold in a way, where it's not only about, collecting just to support, but you also bring up collectors as collaborators. I love this because I've seen a lot of this. You basically just call it out and say, like, when you're supporting and collecting an artist, sometimes collectors have this, unbalanced power dynamic. And there can be a very dirty downside to it where I believe the exact words were like, hey, I collected this, want to collaborate on my platform. So now, and I've seen this done, multiple times where these artists are kind of, back against the wall. It's very easy to feel obligated when your big shot collector hits you up and DMs you. Like, how do you say no to that if maybe you're not comfortable? And I definitely have seen this happen. I appreciate you as of this and wanting to come about it from a very organic approach. So this isn't necessarily just towards you, but I would, if you have a response, I would love for you to answer. I was just curious, like, how can an artist very respectfully and tactfully say no while maintaining a good relationship with their collector? Stefan, if you have a direct answer, feel free to jump in, but I just wanted to really mention that before you left. I know you have to jump soon, so.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I laugh about the word platform, because I guess people, technically speaking, you could look at Virtue Fine Arts digital platform and say it in that manner. But at the same time, I'm the platform. I'm the only one working on the platform. It is, everything that you see is a merit of my work, and efforts. So it's like, you're not dealing with a platform. You're dealing with a person who builds the platform and works on the platform. So at the end of the day, it's like, well, what is this collector's intention, right? Like, are they collecting your work just to collect it, or are they collecting your work because they want something out of you? And that's a red flag to me. I think every artist that I've worked with can genuinely tell you that it's not because of something that I've done for them. It's like, artists are my friends. Those are some of my best friends. It's like, I genuinely care about these people, and I'll go on the record and say, like, I didn't own a Fidenza. I didn't own an Incomplete Control. I didn't own any of Tyler's work prior to working with him, and it was never it never is something that I don't want to leverage myself over artists. I can never build a meaningful project in that way. The only way I can build a meaningful project is I see some kind of potential in the artist and I approach them with an idea to execute or a perspective or offer them some kind of historical reference to challenge them or experiment or grow into. That's by far the biggest and most successful projects that I've done. Rather than, hey, come drop this on my platform, that feels like a coffee shop to me. That's not art, at least in my. Of course, you can buy some great art in that way, but that feels more marketplace than it feels curatorial. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take, but yeah, that's how.
No, I don't disagree. And I think sometimes even when it's not an ill intention, maybe it's a collector, with a good intention. That being said, the artist, maybe it's just timing. Maybe it's bad timing and they have a lot of other things to do or whatever. Like, it's a really strange fine line with this power dynamic. So it was kind of just a general question. And in general, when at the end of the day, like, yes, we're friends, and I experienced this too. I don't talk to my old friends from pre-Web3 days as much as I talk to the people in this space. That being said, at the end of the day, like, business is business. Like, we do operate and we do work together. So it is kind of navigating those murky waters sometimes of, how do you make sure that you maintain those relationships? It's kept respectful while also maintaining your boundaries and being true to yourself and being authentic. So I definitely feel like, the artist collector relationship can sometimes get a little difficult to navigate. So I'm just throwing that out there if people do have any response or want to comment on that, as well as, guys, I'm going to encourage definitely on the thread here, just, post in the comments below. I've been reading through those as well. That being said, I have had Chris on hold for a minute, so I'm going to pass Chris the mic, and then Malachi, I'm going to give you the mic next because you haven't spoken yet, and awesome to see you on stage. So Chris, we'll kick it off with you. Go ahead. How are you?
Sorry for the really short interruption. I just gotta leave. I'm heading to Marfa tomorrow, and I've not packed or done any of my needed to do things. But I really appreciate you bringing me up here, and really enjoyed this conversation. It was unbelievable. But yeah, I gotta hop. Thank you so much, guys.
No problem. Me and you both, dude. I'll see you in Marfa. I still have to pack and all that, but appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, I can't wait to just continue the conversation and see you in Marfa. But thanks again, Stefan, and keep posting these awesome tweets of yours, because definitely I have the notifications on for you. I love how you present the material, and just, keep sharing your thoughts. It's all about starting these conversations. So appreciate your time, and we'll see you in Marfa. And Chris, go ahead. Mike is all yours.
Hey, fuck, he left. I was gonna talk to Stefan. Coming
ran
here,
away from you. He
coming
ran
here as
away.
usual, satirical and the devil's advocate. So don't take anything serious I'm about to say, and please stay out of my fucking DMs. Stefan, of course you can build a. Is he gone? He can surely build a project, just AI, and make it shake, and there you go, millions, just like the other guys. You've seen them do it. You can do it. And I also I came up to not spread the joy. To let's kill the everybody's gonna make it, and the support artist charity case shit, expecting your art to sell and all that. Like, please, not again, not this time. Like, it's not expected that your art is gonna sell. It's fucking hard to sell art. We've been seeing it during the quote unquote bear. Fuck that. The bear is the artist's life. It's hard to sell art. It's horrible. You pick the wrong lifestyle if you want to make money, and you do, because you're here. It's cryptocurrency. So stop all that bullshit and stop trying to treat the collectors as an ATM. And with that all said, buy my fucking art, you idiots. Like,
Just to clarify,
do it.
just to clarify for the listeners, Chris is the artist that you meet, and then you start really questioning how they made that beautiful piece of artwork, and then you're like, oh, I actually probably don't like it because of the personality. I'm kidding, Chris.
No, no,
No.
no, no. I respect it. It's all AI. I stole from a bunch of people and just minted it. And about the people coming back, by the way, I just saw like a few faces I haven't seen for a long time and checked how long it was since they've posted last. It's been a minute. It's gonna be fun, and you know what? All the money is gonna funnel back into their hands because they know how to marketeer. The rest of us don't, because we sometimes speak our mind and come up critical against the backs and all that. And it's some bullshit. Some bullshit.
As a DJ, I fucking love Chris. I gotta say, I sorry to interrupt, but like I am an outsider to the art world, but I've had to learn, and because I love NFTs and I actually appreciate art, and so I love the honesty. I fucking love it as a DJ. So yeah.
Yeah,
Chris,
the
don't you
problem,
find it
because
funny?
we touched upon it just briefly, and I know I'm bullshitting now, but we touched upon it briefly. The thing about doing like critique in this space is absolutely impossible if you're an artist. I've seen artists' career go under in less than a day because they said something which I completely agree on and which was very valid, but they were attacking a collector's bag, which meant that this artist never was going to sell again. And I've seen it several times. So we can't be critical in the space. We need someone to quit the art career, because apparently it's only artists who knows about art in the space. I'm so sorry.
Well, there are politics and everything. That's life.
Yeah, and that's why like galleries doesn't let the artists talk to the collectors in the trad space. Like they never let them talk to the artists before they've bought. Maybe they can have like a meet and greet afterwards, but like selling the art, the gallery. I'm not. You're laughing, Vasia, but this is true. I know galleries. Like this is not even bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna shut up because I have no clue what I'm talking about anymore. And honestly, I just wanted to come up here because Iggy was here, but then like shit happened.
Well, thanks for jumping on, because I don't think it would have been a complete episode if we didn't have the devil's advocate come on stage. And speaking of which, I feel like it's a beautiful reunion. We had Icky, no creative, and I am going to pass the mic to Malachi. Wow, I just got throwbacks. Yes. Hey, Mal, how are you?
Hey, strangers. How's it going?
So good to see you. I'm super happy to have everyone join today's episode. I'm doing good. Am I seeing you in Marfa? That's the real question.
Like 5% chance. I might just get in the truck tonight and head down. I don't have baseball for my kids for once, so I'm thinking about making a last minute trek. But if you see me, you'll be surprised. But it wasn't in the plans. Um, I actually wanted to. I've been out of the game for so long that I forgot how to put my hand up. So that's pretty embarrassing to think about it. But I wanted to provide a little bit more nuance to that. Is like it's funny because like I agree that like No Creative is one of like the worst artists that I've ever seen in my life, and his attitude just absolutely disgusts me. Um, but I'm also like incredibly thankful to call him a dear friend, and I'm being facetious. He was the second artist that I was able to interview when we started NFT Culture in early 2021, and I'm thankful like for his friendship, and I'm thankful for many people's friendship in this room. Like, but the thing I wanted to comment on about the the collectors coming back, the artists coming back, and everything in between is that from probably December of 2020 through probably December or probably May of 2023, maybe a little bit earlier. A lot of the builders in this space, a lot of the people who are trying to be curators, me and some of my business partners and former business partners, like that 2.5 year run of like day in, day out spaces, Twitter, interviewing artists, sponsoring events, flying across the country, neglecting my family. Like there was a lot of things that went into it. And then you also think about a lot of personal things that happen with family loss, tragedy, illness, and everything in between. And like there are grifters in the space, and I some of them have three numbers in their names, and then there's others that like genuinely just disappeared because of changing hobbies, focus, whatever it is. But then there's just the people that got burnt out for a while, and they hung on as long as they could, but the burnout is real. And so, I think that the word that you used, which is incredibly beautiful and thoughtful and poignant, is grace. And like, I think that's what we have to think about when we think about this space is that, there are going to be a lot of people that have come back. Like I've kept the lights on with NFT culture, but it's a shell of what it was when I used to do the artist interviews and all of those types of things. But the people that stuck around during the bear, and I would joke around on Twitter and I supported some artists, but the amount of art I was buying dropped dramatically just because I also didn't have the income coming in from all the other streams to support artists. And so the only feedback that I'd give is that, like, when I made money flipping JPEGs, I would immediately go and, and support the artists that I could. And so the byproduct of the bull market is the opportunity, in a lot of cases where there are a lot of collectors out there that do flip those profits into supporting artists. And so, don't hold it against some of the people. Take a moment to look at their past and just think about what may have been going on in their life, not necessarily that the market was cold, but that real life happens. And for those of you that have been here saying GM every day for the last 4 years and supporting each other, I commend you. And I hope that, myself and some of the others that I know in this space that I even see here that have gone through some pain and some hardship. Like, I'm rooting for you. A lot of you have DM'd behind the scenes and talked on Discord. And thank you for your kindness to me while I went through some of my stuff. And so, if anyone else out there, if you're going through hard times, don't be afraid to take a day off, but also don't be afraid to ask for help. I think one of the things I love about this community and the friends that I've made are that if I've ever felt down, upset, hurt, jaded, or in pain, there's a big community of people in this room that have helped pick me up. So thank you.
Malachi, you don't understand how full my heart feels just listening to you on stage today. And first of all, hearing your voice after a minute, and more importantly, just how honest you were and how real and human. Because let's be honest, I think, and the third point of kind of the original tweet and what I wanted to bring up today was how collectors specifically are perceived, and, being more than just a wallet. And let's bring in the human factor. And 2021 was extremely unsustainable. It was moving too fast. The pace of it was not realistic, but I also think there was a lot of toxicity. And, last space we talked about how unrealistic it was for like every artist to blow up and be an instant overnight success. But at the same time, how unrealistic it was for a lot of these collectors to continuously be pouring money into supporting artists. And I think witnessing a lot of this behind the scenes, it was like collectors getting a lot of love and a lot of love and attention for supporting all these artists. So immediately after, it's like you're almost in this like vicious cycle of continuously wanting to feed and wanting to collect and wanting to support more artists and change more lives and do all this, but like it wasn't sustainable. And I think, speaking even from personal experience, like anyone that was full-time since 2021 in Web3 and crypto, like, it's not the best financial move. Like, it definitely has taken a toll. And for multiple reasons, people might need to pivot. And like you mentioned, the personal end as well. Like, we don't know what people experience on their day-to-day lives. And it's important to just be forgiving, I think, and really recognize, okay, of course, they're the bad characters. But at the same time, especially at this point in time, when we're such a small ecosystem, we're not supposed to be pointing fingers and telling people to not come back here. Like, that's the opposite approach of what we should be doing. And again, it's just recognizing that we're human and that this is about the building and sustainability of this ecosystem. So I just want to say thank you so much for being so honest, so raw, and just and sharing your thoughts and coming on stage today. I did see, Maddie, I'm so sorry. I know you've been patiently waiting with your hands up. I did see Violet and Gringo put their hands up, and Violet specifically, who hasn't spoken yet, I just want to give her the mic since we are approaching almost the 2-hour mark. And then there's just a couple of closing comments as well. But Violet, go ahead. I just wanted to share the mic with you as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me time on the spaces. Another wonderful topic. What a reunion. Holy bloody guacamole. It's like, Mal, of course, Chris, as always, bringing everybody down. And Iki, it was amazing. No, all the speakers made really valid points. And to your point is, keeping touch in collectors that you met and just maintaining that human connection is very important. Of course, sometimes it's literally impossible because otherwise, as artists, we wouldn't have any time to basically create if we were on social media or in some form of a conversation with everybody. But it's very important to have a little bit more of the personal connection, because then you know if people disappear, and it's okay, as everybody said, for some people to just step down. The only thing that I've found extremely fascinating, and I don't know, maybe people will forget it and forgive it. Like it's absolutely fine. Those grand exits, almost you could feel them slamming door behind them when they made these grand announcements. I'm leaving this space and all of that shit. And suddenly they are back and it's like, hi, it's my art here. So I feel that if you need a break, go, but like don't make these announcements, because that shit is forever. You can delete it. I guarantee you 100 people screen grab that shit. So it's like, if you need to talk to the friends, to your community. If you're burned out and you need to just vent, I guarantee you'll find people that will just give you space to listen and like really, but don't make these announcements and then come back, because I think it's going to be harder to come back from that when you just literally slam the door and shouted, from the rooftops. People had tough time during bear market, and it's very understandable. They had to take a break. And I know many people, and I never judge if somebody steps down, because you need to put food on your table, you need to pay the bills, and it's absolutely fine. Occasional hello or just showing the art, not necessarily for minting. I've been painting like crazy. I've minted very little over the last 2 years, but just it didn't go with my plan. But it's just, I've been creating, I've been active the way I could be. And I don't feel like just because I minted less, people are going to think less of me. And I don't think we should think less of somebody who disappeared. Just maybe a little bit about those who shouted before and told us to fuck off. Okay, thank you.
I'm with you, V. Go ahead, Milton. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. I was screaming to myself on a muted mic. I needed somebody to say that. I'm glad I didn't have to do it. Violet, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what I was referring to earlier on the PR, the bad PR. I don't know who wrote your speech, but when your first grandmother died, I felt for you so bad. When your second one, what a tragedy. When your third one died, I had some questions. So yeah, when some of these rats raise their head from the sewers, now that there's some cheese back on the streets, I do have a discerning eye at this point. But yes, there's definitely grace that needs to be given for legitimate cases, and I think that you'll find we're a very small community. We know that we can't lose any of us, if possible, because there's only so many of us before we're all gone. So I think you'll find we're pretty forgiving, but I do need you to be honest. And if you made a shit ton of money in 2021 and you don't have a personal assistant even with all that money to come and chime in once a week on socials or in your Discord, or to drop something special for your collectors, an airdrop, anything, I find that hard to believe. So yeah, the PR could use an improvement. A lot of people have good reasons to step away, valid. Some not so much. So I would just be wary of some of those individuals who come back into the space now.
Salty. Damn. I completely agree with you, Milton. And I just wanted to add on, it's not only about the exit, so to speak, but it's also the entrance, like how you come back into the community. Like, let's be honest, like don't pretend like nothing happened, etc. But again, I think you guys nailed it. And I am glad Violet mentioned it. Very important point. Okay, before we move on to the last thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap up the entire space, I did want to give Maddie the mic back. Thank you so much for patiently waiting. And then Gringo will hop to you as well.
How's my mic? Is it okay?
Yeah, much better now, Maddie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Curation came up, and so I believe curation is key. I watched so many artists in 2021 putting out collections of say 10 or 15. I was after photography, and I did notice a lot of, not just photography, there was other things of course, but one of the things I noticed from photography, people putting out small collections of 10 to 20 to 30 photographs, was that was my son smashing some dishes. That's okay, I'll get it later. So what I noticed was curation was bad, and that was these artists were falling in love with all of their pieces, and unfortunately there was maybe 2 or 3 in there that did not fit, and so what I believe the formula I suggested a formula for artists to say, okay, you need to be able to weed out those pieces that you're in love with that just don't fit and are going to disrupt the thread of your small collection, and it's not going to have this be as cohesive or have that cohesive feel like everything belongs. If you look at Rachel Wood's, she made a collection of geographical pictures where she took pictures of prehistoric, like very prehistoric stone, and everything fits in her collection. There's nothing out of place. So I suggested that people find a Stephen or a Woods or especially the Chris's in the Web3 space and say, hey, could you help me out? Could you look at this collection and give me some just what doesn't fit here? And so you take 3 people, and if they can weed out if they all agree and have a consensus of what they think that fits and doesn't fit, well, you know you're on the right track. And my suggestion also on top of that would be to put in something that is absolutely crap, because if your curator can't pick it out, then you need a new one, and you just move on to the next person. And so then you end up with a better chance of that small collection, your first collection perhaps, being cohesive. The collector looks at it and says, oh, there's nothing out of place here. And so they have that feeling that this collection is more likely to sell out when everything fits. And as a collector from 2021, that's one of the things I look for, is this collection going to sell out? I want to be early in a collection that sells out because I'm testing my taste. Can I pick a collection that sells out from an artist that's not recognized? To me, it's the best test I could come up with for myself to prove to myself that I had some type of taste, artistic taste. And so that's the question I asked myself, and I still do. I say, oh, have I still got some artistic taste? Can I pick a new artist? I think it's a rush to pick an artist before they sell out, to me. That's my 5 cents.
Thank you for sharing. Those actually really good tips and points. And I mean, everyone needs a Chris in their life, regardless of helping with the correct collection and curating. But
just full disclaimer: no, I will make you cry, especially if you're a photographer. As a photographer and a researcher of 15 years, I will make you cry. So don't.
I believe that.
I will happily critique your shit, but you don't want it.
Chris will make you cry with a smile on his face. I think that's the approach. But I do.
Then I will hush you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Chris will not be at Castle Party, by the way. So remember, buy your tickets for Castle Party. Chris will not be there. You have nothing to worry about.
I bought it yesterday, and then I received an email with a discount of $100, like 6 hours later. I am so salty. I'm so fucking salty.
We timed that specifically. We saw you purchase the ticket, and we go, okay, now give the discount.
What kind of fucking marketing is that? Like, going early bird, you'll get the ticket cheaper. 12 hours later, you get an email.
Trevor requested to speak. You're in trouble. Daddy Jones is in the house. Go ahead, Trevor.
Daddy.
Yes, Trevor, can you hear us?
Hey, yeah, I just walking home right now. Sorry. I was just laughing at you guys. I've been talking about Chris, and yeah, that was planned entirely to rug Chris out of $100. You're welcome.
Take the money and run, sir. Take the money and run. It's
Dude,
yours.
I've already put it in peanuts and I've just turned it into $1 million. So good luck, buddy.
That's perfect.
Anyway, I'll let you guys get back to chatting. I'm on the way home, getting ready to have some dinner. So, but I'm enjoying the conversation. Keep on going, and yeah, keep on trolling Chris. I love it.
You weren't here earlier, so someone I had to step up and really, really do it. I love that everyone's kind of jumping in as well. But no, good to hear from you. Thank you for joining, and I'm sure Violet has a delicious meal waiting for you at home. So enjoy.
Roast beef, honey, roast beef.
Violet, you just make all of us jealous every space. I just got to say. I see you also tweeting about the food that you've been posting. Okay, I just wanted to go back to the convo very quickly. But I think actually Violet last space had mentioned about the importance of artists self-curating as well and being able to really select the best of their artwork. So I'm with it, Matt. I really like that comment, Maddie, and great tips and advice. I am going to give Gringo, I think he had his hands up for one last comment before I kind of go to our closing remarks.
Yeah,
so Gringo, all yours.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I just want to say shout out Maddie J. We actually met this morning on Web3 Breakfast Club. That was fun. Shout out. Also, Violet, thanks for the laughs. Violet's one of the funniest people in Web3, I have to say. Like some of the, it's just, and the boldest. It's just great. One last shout out. Brain Pasta in the house. Brain Pasta is an artist on Ape Chain, which I have been aping into recently. Everyone should take a look at Ape Chain. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on there. It's one of the most fun experiences I've had in Web3 in a long time. It's fast, it's cheap. I'm not shilling it. I just am actually a holder and an investor of Brain Pasta's work. We just met online recently, I think through Baron von Hustle's space. You know, he's one of the Yuga Labs employees. So yeah, Ape Chain, everyone should pay attention. It is fucking awesome, right, Brain Pasta?
No, thank you for giving your shout outs. I think we're going to be seeing Brain Pasta hopefully in Marfa, but I did get a chance to connect with him in Lisbon. And yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing more people at Castle Party too. I want a giant reunion with some of these awesome people from the community. Okay, Milton, let's do it. Let's wrap it up. So one of the last things I wanted to mention before I hand the mic over to you, and it was in the original tweet. So just again, to go back to Stefan's tweet, he mentions it's essentially like wanting to be known as a collector for his contributions outside of the financial ones. And I think this is a huge point to mention, that collectors are more than just a wallet. And I mean, I have zero experience being a sugar daddy, but I would imagine the terrible feeling of people just hitting you up purely because they're chasing your wallet and like they know that you're hitting them up because you want something from them.
It's true.
Dogecoin fam, yes. Oh, do you have experience? Okay. Yes. But it's something Dogecoin fam also mentioned earlier, and it's really just something that, again, we mentioned that kind of bringing the human into this industry, I think is really important, and no one wants to feel used. So I don't think there's much, I think we can all sort of agree to this, and it's something I wanted to just highlight and emphasize because Stefan did end his tweet on that kind of positive note of wanting to, again, cultivate these organic relationships, get to know people, and then ultimately, again, add value outside of just, the monetary contribution. So, okay, I usually end these with some key takeaways. I'm going to just give one, and then I'm going to give Milton the mic to kind of close us off. But overall, I think the conversation, first of all, thank you to everyone who contributed. I do believe that at the end of the day, everyone is going to collect with whatever kind of style resonates the most with them. And I don't think that there's a right answer or a wrong answer. I do see why many would pivot into Stephen's approach with, wanting to only collect artworks that really resonate, wanting to be more strategic and spend your money carefully. I completely understand. But I also think that this is an ecosystem that needs all types of different collecting styles. And sometimes, and I do it as well. Like I just to support, like I'm going to collect really, I could care less what it looks like, what the artwork is. It's because maybe there's a deeper level, whether it's like a charity component or for a good cause, or, it's an artist that I want to support and someone that I want to see succeed. And if I can contribute in any way, I will. So for me, I think it's just the different variations of collecting, and it's really a personal to that individual. So that's kind of my take. Milton, since you do have more experience than me with collecting, I'm curious to hear your final key takeaways.
Yeah, and more experience being a sugar daddy. Remember, I live in Miami, so
Well, sorry, shout out Trevor as well. I forgot to say that earlier. I love you, Trevor. Sorry, but get back to it, Sugar Daddy Milton. Love you.
No, I'm just looking through my collection and my collecting habits, which was pretty much FOMOing in and following the crowd back in the day. And when we go through the bull market, I think this is timely because we're coming back into some crypto money. Just be careful. You can lose it all, like I did, and then you got to try and make it back in really shitty meme coin communities, like I'm doing as we speak. And you don't want to go through that. There's no substance in it. But even if you find money there, Mr. Peanut, Trevor Jones, millionaire, even if you do find a good community there, there is a chance of being rugged. Like we know that, and there's simply a chance that you run out of money. I think Stefan's approach of being looking at things longer term, looking at things more on a relationship level, looking at something that truly resonates with him is admirable. I still think there is a time and place, as Vasia mentioned, to support maybe in smaller degrees, smaller edition numbers, just smaller price points. I think that's absolutely fine. But I think now I look back and I say, man, if I had that money again, what would I do with it? And now that I've had the chance to meet, this is something that we heard echoed over and over again in the space. Now that I've had the chance to meet a lot of the artists, some of them in this room, I'll give F. a shout, for example. I've spent quite a bit more money with some artists that I've met and honestly didn't like. I don't say their name, so I can say that honestly. But yeah, they weren't my favorite people,
It's me.
and yeah.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I thought we had a relationship, but I guess okay. I know where you stand now. It's all good.
All right. Well, at least we know the truth. So no, but I've had that instance, and I was like, man, if I could go back in time and spend that money with somebody else, and whose art also truly resonates with me. I was following crowds, I was following trends, and I didn't even end up loving the person at the end of the day. So I'm like, gosh, if I could do it all over again, I would certainly do it differently. So it's a good learning lesson, but I think we'll have another cycle to figure that all out. And yeah, do everything that you can to make that personal connection with the artist. You got a lot of opportunities here, even if, like Rachel said, you do have to sacrifice some funds to make it out to these IRL events. Even if you can't make those, there's good opportunities here on spaces like this, in DMs, and being just plugged into the community and Discords and Telegrams, etc. So take that opportunity. Don't take it lightly because it doesn't exist at the same extent in the trad world. So utilize that opportunity. But I'll close with that. Here's to another bull run. Let's hope everybody in here gets rich and wealthy and likes everybody that they collect from at the same time. But yeah, we're looking forward to being back next week after Marfa. We should have some good stories to tell from Marfa. And yeah, we are going to see Brain Pasta, by the way. Another shout out. Brain Pasta's staying with us. We've got a very cool spot on a ranch, the White River Ranch. There's going to be 11 of us hanging out there. So if you don't have a cool place to stay, come kick it with us there. We might even throw a little event. But hit us up if you're going to be there and you want to hang out. Might get that opportunity to do so soon. But we'll have some good stories to tell after Marfa, and we'll come back with you Wednesday at 1 p.m. and we'll have a new topic to explore. We hope that you'll join us then, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thanks for tuning into Moments the Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe and follow us to keep up with all the latest trending Web3 topics. Join us every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on X for our live space and be a part of the dialogue.